I look when we're talking about our budget in Illinois and talking about where we need to go, we really need to look at reforming our budget. And we don't when we start talking about things like service taxes, when we tax, we take money out of consumers' hands and we give it to the government to spend. And for us to be healthy, we have to have a healthy consumer economy. So consumers spend their money, we create a job, we create a tax. That's how it works. Government has to live within that means. If we take all the taxes that all the government employees make and all the cost of government taxes generated by government employees are going to pay for less than 10% of the cost of government. So the private sector economy has to absorb all the other expenses. And the private sector economy is shrinking and government's trying to grow. I mean, we have to reform our expenditures and live within our means.
When you read this report, I'm just going to turn up the volume here. When you read the report, they say between 4 and 8 billion, that it's money that other states get that Illinois doesn't tax. We tax, I think, the fewest number of services. Are the numbers from COGFA, are they something that we believe, or are there questions about the numbers, or does this just come down to the question of how many taxes does Illinois need to charge before it's too much?
I believe that COGFA has done a very good job in assimilating the amount that services would generate if we tax them. The question is, do we tax services? Are we the highest in sales tax? Are we the highest in property tax? Now we're midway in income tax, and then be the highest in service taxes. I mean, we're building a government we can't afford. We have state employees that are getting 8% pay raises. We have government growing in a time period that the economy is contracting. So we need to reevaluate our budget before we look at taxes. If we were even going to consider a service tax, maybe we need to eliminate the income tax. Texas doesn't have an income tax. Tennessee doesn't have an income tax, but they have service taxes and they have sales taxes. And when you look at where baby boomers are moving, they're moving to Texas, they're moving to Tennessee, they're moving to Nevada, they're moving to the 6 states that don't have either sales taxes or income taxes.
Did we miss out, did Illinois miss out on a chance during the debate over the income tax? There was no talk of expanding sales tax. It was an either or sort of debate, that we either increase the income tax or we just have to make these massive cuts. Was an opportunity missed to perhaps add a little bit more to the mix, expand the sales tax? That way income taxes don't have to go up. That way we wouldn't have to be looking at cutting some of what's proposed to be cut?
Illinoisans are not undertaxed. Our government is spending too much money, and that's the real debate. If we want to talk about different ways to pay for our government, we could have that conversation. While that occurred in the Senate, it did not occur in the House. They passed a bill last year that generated $9 billion in additional taxes that was dead on arrival in the House. But we haven't had that conversation. But I'm not looking at putting more tax burden on Illinoisans. I believe the way to turn our economy around in our state is to create jobs, and we don't do that by raising taxes. We do that by providing a platform for a consumer-driven market to flourish, and that's what we need to do.
Last question. When they talk about a service tax, you always hear, a game of bowling or a haircut or dry cleaning, but what else would be in that? How do we make it real for people back home that you'd say, right now you don't pay tax on this, but if services were to be taxed, you could?
You get your furnace cleaned, you pay a tax. You get your septic tank pumped out, you pay a tax. You get your house painted, you pay a tax. You get your house cleaned, you pay a tax. Anything that's a service somebody performs and will be taxed, just like you were going to the store and buying a new car, buying anything at the lumber yard. You pay a sales tax. That will happen on any services that you do. And in Tennessee, they have a service tax, but they have no income tax.